Wemby, we saw as the weekend came through, was the finalist on a variety of lists for all kinds of awards. And the expectation is all NBA is just a matter of time. On the way home yesterday, I was listening to Greeny. He came to work and was hanging out with Himbo, and he brought up a question that I found really interesting that I want to put to the morning brigade. This is your cue, 656-3776, 656-ESPN. Use them as appropriate to your needs. If you want to talk, please do. Call and talk to Edwin or text us, or you can jump on the scroll on our YouTube feed. That might be the easiest thing to do right now. If you're not available to the text, do it online because I can't see the text line, but due to the internal renovations, you can see if you're watching us live, all of my cool stuff is gone. They took away all my toys. So as we get redone, get on our YouTube feed and type on the bar there. Be a Brigade Bar member, please. And this is the question that was asked yesterday. In 5 years, give me your all-NBA team. And universally, Wemby led the way. And universally, Ant-Man led the way. So that's 2 of the 5. And I think that would be, if it's not 100% agreement on this, it would be pretty close. But who are your other 3? 656-3776, 656-ESPN. We'll take your calls, but we want to talk about it. Here's the, Ja Morant 2 years ago seemed like an absolute guarantee. 2 years ago. Does he go on the list? He's probably 5 or 6. Let's go 5 years from now.
SGA.
So we've got our 3. We've got our 2. There's Shai Gilgeous. There's Luka. There's Jason Tatum. Is he still going to be what we expect? Will the Joker's game translate? I mean, he is the epitome of athleticism and grace. He might lose an inch or 2 on that vertical. He might lose all of his vertical. It's hard to lose that, although we wouldn't know. Will it transfer? Who do you think? This is my 5. Victor is going to lead the way for sure. And Anthony Edwards is, by personality, might be the most likely dude to dominate everything, just because he's a fun guy. Wemby, because of the internationalness, might have the upper hand there. But I think that those 2 are going to lead the way. And it does very much feel like the Kobe-Tim rivalry in the early aughts. I mean, you get the sense that these 2 dudes are going to be going at it for the foreseeable future. After that, Luka, I don't think his game's going to stay. The guys whose games are predicated on savvy and basketball knowledge and not on athleticism and quickness. It's just easier to stay. Now, the enemy of those guys is normally injuries, but Luka's been rather injury-free. So we're at 3 in my mind, Luka being the 3rd. Jason Tatum, in my mind, is just now beginning. I think he is just on the edge there. So I'm going to put Jason Tatum there at 4, leaving one more.
Paolo Banchero.
Now, Paolo Banchero, maybe. He certainly has all the skills. I keep wanting to find who's going to be the, without in a league now that doesn't define itself, who's going to be the guard? Who's going to be the ball handler, the guy that everybody wants to be in the driveway? I mean, we've had Steph Curry everybody wanted to be Steph Curry. Trae Young was the next. Who's the guy that the little one's going to emulate? Who's the next 6 foot? Is Jalen Brunson going to be around for a minute? Or is that guy not in the league yet? 5 years is a long time. The guy I'm talking about since 8th grade.
Shai Gilgeous, maybe.
Is it Shai? It very well could be. It very well could be. And I'll tell you what, the shot he made part of the resume that's required, the unlikely finish. But is he the guy? There's something about Shea that is remarkably functional. He's not a highlight dude. He's a stat player. He's a stat hound. He's a player. He doesn't provide the all NBA glitz that has to go along with the game. I don't know. I don't think. He's certainly got everything else. But see, it took us a while to get to him. Is there anybody else out there? Is Trae Young capable? No, I don't think so.
John Morant's the one person, but he's got to stay out of trouble.
So
we're back. Injuries.
We're back where we started. And John Morant is the guy that you go, he's got everything possible. And of course, the off the court stuff, we're not even counting this. I'm just talking about guys that in the top 5. Fully healthy, 5 years from now, he's going to be in the prime. He's still a young man. The question isn't about his off the field stuff, is his game. Will his game maintain for the next 5 years just because of the just extraordinary athleticism he brings? I mean, can he physically do it in 5 years? Because if he can, I think as far as popularity, if he can continue doing what he's doing, and you have to expect that the Memphis team will be good enough to keep him around. I just don't think he physically will be able to do it. At least so far he hasn't. But don't we wish he could? But I don't know of another guard. Is that another sign of where this league is?
Maybe Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham is certainly one of the more multi-talented guys. And I'll be honest, this time last year, if we're talking 5 years from now, we sure thought Scoot Henderson was going to be something. The last I saw of him as the season closed out, he was starting to find it. And if we're talking 5 years from now, and if we're trying to group together not just the 5 best, but the all-NBA team, there's a opening at guard. It's funny that we don't have one right now, though. A lot of stars. Jamal Murray prime last night. Jalen Brunson, too. You wonder if Jamal will last. It was the dynamic duos all on display last night, and most of them lost. Who would be the second in the dynamic duo if you could pick for Victor? You got a couple of examples in front of us we got 3 that are really worthy of consideration. If you look at what has been successful, and we're looking at what's going to make the Spurs successful, the dynamic duo is obviously everybody's dream. We've talked about Trae Young. Would be an ideal, we think. We'd like to find out, I think. But when you watch the way that Jokic plays, and you watch the way that Joel Embiid plays, and then you watch the way that Anthony Davis plays, you know what, Esteban, you brought up Halliburton. Halliburton's going to have to play some defense. That's all I'm going to say. Before he gets the credit that he absolutely deserves, he's going to learn to play a little bit of defense. But the tandems that got there and the tandems that didn't so far, what would be best next to Wemby? What would you choose? And players are one thing. You can name players, but when I name players, I'm talking about more like types. What do you want? If you ask me, if I had to choose between a Jamal Murray type, a scorer that will revolve off Wemby's remarkable passing ability, much like Jamal Murray does off of Jokic, or a Tyrese Maxey type that doesn't really revolve around Joel Embiid, but succeeds because Joel Embiid succeeds. Does that make sense? That he's capable of playing off Embiid and doing things on his own, and he doesn't necessarily need Embiid to be successful, though he feels the space left by Embiid. I'm not sure Embiid is great at filling the space left by Maxey, but I do think Embiid goes the other way. And last night was a good example of those two playing the best that they can, though they still lost. Do you like that? Do you want a guy that's just capable of going and doing it despite what Wemby does? Just get Wemby on one side of the court and let the other guy go do it? I don't think that's Jamal Murray, though he thrives on what Jokic gives him and the gravity that Jokic has. Maxey doesn't need gravity. Okay, Okay, that's two types. Or do you want another? Best example of this would be not the player, just think of the style, Jarrett Allen. Do you want Wemby playing next to a guy that will free him to do more? Not a guy that will fill the gaps, but will just take away the dirty work on defense. Jarrett Allen, a rim protector, not going to get a lot of offense there. It'll be a lot of crumbs, a lot of gravy, a lot of go-get-its. So that's three different flavors of guys that are playing off. Anthony Davis and LeBron James, the other dynamic duo floating around right now, I'm not sure what to make of that, because last night that duo didn't work very well in the fourth as AD didn't get a bucket. But they both kind of give and take. That's a unique scenario that I don't think can be mimicked. Just because of the legendary LeBron. And by the way, hats off to LeBron, man. 2 consecutive charges at over 40 years of age. If I was his insurer, I would question his decision-making. But when you look at dynamic duos, what do you want? Mike Bean, Steven Adams. See, Mike, you're thinking like me. Darius Garland, James Pledger, up and lifting as he should be. See, okay, so we've got two different styles. James is looking at a point guard, a guy that can come in and aid in helping Wemby go and take the ball and do things with the rest of the offense. I like that. But if push comes to shove, I look on the defensive side of the ball. I want rebirth of the Twin Towers. I don't care where you find him. He doesn't have to be a superstar. He's just got to be an NBA 5. Preferably a shot blocking NBA 5. I want a guy that looks a lot like Victor behind Victor. I want the opposing NBA teams to think they're in a fun house, that when they get closer to the rim, they can't tell whether they're looking through a mirror or out one when they see a 7-1 dude, 7-2 dude, 7-3 dude. I want a defense that when both of my posts stretch their arms out, it looks like the fence around Topgolf. Now, there's a lot to be said for a Darius Garland type. And there's some of those dudes floating around now. And there's certainly a lot to be said for a Jamal Murray type. A guy that functions at the behest of the greatness, is capable now and again, but really relies on the gravity that Joker provides. That's Jamal Murray's ideal situation. And those guys are not that hard to find, though difficult. Find a dude that just thrives off the gravity, that will hit the open shot. The true Pippen-esque dude, it would make for a lot of highlights. It would make for a lot more offense, though. I think if you ask me second, Alfred Sengun, Mike Martinez, you and I are thinking the same way. I'm looking for a dude that will block a shot and a half, the average NBA shot blocking center, that will clean the boards, that will own 8 rebounds just because he wants to and get 4 more because he's talented enough to go get them. And that's it. Everything else he does is gravy. Block a couple of shots, grab double-digit rebounds, and let Victor take care of the rest. Be the safety net. You'll get some gravy buckets. That's what I want. What do you want? 656-377-6656 ESPN. After watching what Zach Edey did, and I'm not saying it's Zach Edey, but when I watch Wemby patrol on that back part, I think helps. But man, oh man, watching Jamal Murray hit that shot helped. Sure would be nice to have a guy that could just function off of Wemby, take those bounce passes that are always going to be available to him, always be on the strong side with Wemby for the easy kick, and find ways to find him on the weak for the jump shot. Man, that would be pretty to have. You want to talk about an offense that would be worth 115 a night. Giddy. Jesse Jesus De La Rosa comes on, the Australian dude. You're thinking about Steven Adams. He's a bruiser. And we're going to talk about it at 8:30. By the Inside the NBA super secret poll of all the different questions that matter to the NBA types, Steven Adams is listed as one of the toughest. That's what I'm looking for. Now, that's where I went. What do you want? The guard does matter. The point guard in particular. Because as much as we love Victor's versatility and his ability to grab the ball off the rim and bring it up court in 2 steps, there's the turnovers that maturity is going to fix some of that. Jacob wants to keep it at home. Devin Vassell. Well, we're going to add to Devin. Devin ain't going anywhere. Derek White. See, Esteban likes the facilitator defender. I would not be opposed, given the quality of the guard. Now, I don't want to pay a whole lot because Victor's capable of doing a lot of this. But what I want to eliminate his opportunity for turnovers. And a point guard, a guy that will be a little bit more ball dominant would help. And turnovers mean buckets. Turnovers directly applied to the bottom line more than anything else. You turn the ball over, you just don't win. There's no more prudent and perfect category to pick whether you won or lost. Show me your turnovers. And Victor's worth 4 to 8 points a game on his own. Just going to give you 8 points. We're going to spot you 8. It's our handicap. Because that's what Wemby's turnovers have been. So the argument to go get a guard to kind of protect that, I get. But I want a big. I want a guy that you get past Wemby and you take a deep breath and then you're still in the shadows. You still can't figure out how to see over the tree. Defense travels. The shot will come and go. Pop knows that. The draft's awfully close. We saw last night that the dynamic duos, they weren't even remotely the most successful. You wonder about the duo that the Bucks will bring if they get Giannis back. Because they went and did the right thing. Dollar Dame delivered. That dynamic duo was brought in for one specific purpose. And these guys ain't going to be able to exist together for long. But that wasn't the plan. How quickly can the Spurs put together the dynamic duo that's required? I saw Devin Vassell come across the board. I don't think that's it. I think he plays a role, but I don't think that's where it's going. I don't know if he's going to be in this draft or not. Mike Bean says CP3 and a decent center. I think that goes without saying. We talked a lot about CP3 in yesterday's show, and if you missed any of that, hey, we got this thing. It's called the Audio Vault. Hey, if we do it live, you can go find it there. It's brought to you by AA Best Bell Bonds. You can find it at sasportstar.com. Who do you want the Spurs to get, or what do you want is probably a better question. Who are your top 5 in 5 years? Who are the 5 NBA's best in 5 years?